This is Reading Writing Workshop, page 206 and 207, and then we'll go to the story that follows. Let's work on vocabulary first. Address. In his address, the mayor urged the citizens to take pride in the community. What is a synonym for address? Synonym means another word that's similar. So in his speech, the mayor urged the citizens. Divided. The three interviewers were divided about hiring the woman. Describe a time you felt divided about something. Well, they weren't sure that they wanted to hire her. Some wanted her, some didn't. So that's when you're trying to make a decision, and it's hard to make a decision. There have been times when I've tried to choose between one good thing and another, like maybe what to eat. I was divided about what I wanted to get. Haste. Milo had to make haste in order not to be late for class. What is an antonym for haste? Antonym means opposite. So haste means he was in a hurry. So it means he wasn't in a hurry. It would be he was lazy trying to get to class. He was slow. Milo had to just take his time in order not to be late, because he was going to be late for class. That would be the opposite. Opposed. The catcher was opposed to the umpire's call and wanted to protest it. Why might a parent be opposed to having a pet? If you're opposed, you don't want it. So a parent might not want you to have a pet because they say you didn't take care of it before when we asked you to take care of a pet. You didn't feed it. It's too expensive. They messed the house up. Those would be reasons why a parent might be opposed to getting a pet. Perish. If you put the lettuce in the refrigerator, it will stay fresh and not perish as quickly. What is a synonym for perish? Well, a word that's similar would be stay fresh. Not perish would be, not perish would be staying fresh. So perish might be die or get stale. So that would be a synonym for perish, get stale. Proclamation. The town crier rang her bell before she read the proclamation from the mayor. How are the words proclaim and proclamation related? If you proclaim something, you tell it. If there's a proclamation, that's the thing that you told. Shattered. There was lightning, and then a thunderclap shattered the silence of the night. What other things can be shattered? If you drop a dish, it can shatter, it can break. Tension. Tony felt tension as he tried to remember what the correct answer was on the computer test. What is an antonym for tension? Tension means stress, so the opposite of that might be peacefulness. He felt peacefulness as he tried to remember the answer. Now let's go on to the next page. A shared read. The genre is a biography, and the title is Words for Change. The essential question, how can words lead to change? Read how Elizabeth Cady Stanton's words helped bring about change for women. The early years. In 1827, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton was 11, her father said, "Oh, my daughter, I wish you were a boy." Elizabeth was shattered. Ooh, she was upset. From that time on, she became determined to prove to her father and the whole world that women and all people deserve equal treatment. Elizabeth's father was a lawyer, judge, and congressman. She would listen eagerly when a woman came to see him for legal advice, but she was often disappointed. Her father could not help them because women did not have the same rights as men did under the law. Married women could not own property or vote. Elizabeth said, "The tears and complaints of the women who came to my father for legal advice touched my heart and early drew my attention to the injustice and cruelty of the laws." Elizabeth began drawing lines through all the laws she opposed in her father's law books. She didn't like them. She planned to take a pair of scissors and cut these pages out. Her father had a better idea. He told her that when she was grown up, she must get lawmakers to pass new laws. Then the unfair laws would perish and disappear. They would go away. They'd die. Women's lives would be changed. At the top, you see a picture, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and her daughter, and there's a button, full suffrage for women. People used to wear buttons. Suffrage meant to be able to vote. At the bottom, it says suffragettes mark in a parade in New York City. Those were the women who wanted women to be able to vote. They were called suffragettes. Working for change. Elizabeth was as passionate about the rights of African Americans as she was about those of women. At that time, the country was divided. People couldn't make up their minds. They were divided in two by the issue of slavery. While working for reform, she met her husband, the abolitionist Henry Stanton. They were married in 1840. Elizabeth refused to use the traditional words promise to obey in her wedding vows. The Seneca Falls Convention. Elizabeth tried to settle into the role of wife and mother, but she wanted to be an activist and work for change. She took her father's advice and wrote a proclamation, something that she said. It was called the Declaration of Rights and Sentiments. Modeled after the Declaration of Independence, it stated that women should be able to vote and have the same rights as men. She presented this document in 1848 at America's first Women's Rights Convention in Seneca Falls, New York. Elizabeth and her friend Lucretia Mott organized this important event. In her address, her speech at the convention, Elizabeth said, "Because women do feel themselves deprived of their most sacred rights, we insist that they have immediate admission to all the rights and privileges which belong to them as citizens of the United States." And there's a list of attendees at the convention, all the people who came. They wrote them down, their names. A winning team. Well, there's a button there, another button that says Votes for Women. And there's a picture on the other side, Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. A winning team. 3 years later, Elizabeth met Susan B. Anthony. Together, the two made an unstoppable team. Elizabeth was a passionate speaker and writer. Anthony was a gifted leader and organizer. In 1869, they formed the National Women's Suffrage Association. This group was dedicated to helping women gain the right to vote. Suffrage means being able to vote. Congress showed no haste or hurry to change the law, so they were not trying to change. Elizabeth toured the country. She spoke about reforms for women and women's right to vote. She did not care if her speeches caused tension. She didn't care if they were stressed out and made some people angry. She believed in her cause. Victory at last. Elizabeth Cady Stanton never got to cast a vote before she died on October 26, 1902. Yet her bold words had a lasting impact. Women finally gained the right to vote on August 18, 1920, when the 19th Amendment was ratified. Elizabeth Cady Stanton's passion for equal rights paved the way for future women's lives to be changed forever. Make connections. Talk about how Elizabeth Cady Stanton helped women gain the right to vote. That's an essential question. You could talk to your guide on the side about that. Think about a time when you disagreed with something or wanted to change something. What did you say to try to change it? That's another good conversation starter with your guide on the side.